Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. It's Mother's Day weekend here, Saturday, not Sunday. Don't be too harsh on me. And, we got a cold, rainy day, and I figure what better way to pass some time than with another Mac tool haul. Now, this one, we got 3 items. We're going to showcase 2 of them here. The last will get a standalone video. And we are very lucky to have these said items because they came in this. It's one of those things. I will never slight a company for freight damage. You know, like if UPS does something horrendously stupid, FedEx, insert LTL carrier here. But you can easily prevent a lot of dumb things from happening by using proper or just better packaging. This would be fine for one of the 2 items in here if they were standalone or if you individually wrap them. All I have done is before starting to record this, I was hoping there was like a packing list so I could jot my notes and prices down. Spoiler, there was not. But I did at least verify that the 3 items were in here. And the other side with the label is egregiously bad. Looks like there's footprints on it even. And the 3rd item is the one that I'm worried about. The other 2, maybe they take some cosmetic damage. The other one, of course, subject to cosmetic damage. It could really sustain some abuse that it doesn't need prior to me dishing it out. So with that said, like a box would have been great here, or you know, like individually wrapping these components, which did not happen. That's how I was easily able to verify through this tiny opening here that they were all 3 in fact in the bag. But with that said, I'll try to get this out of your way. I know people complain about sounds like this for some reason. So I've extracted one item and it is actually separately bagged. The others have absolutely nothing, which is a shame. If I can get my arm out of there without pulling all my arm hair off thanks to the adhesive, I've got what we need. And we're going to get started with none of those items. We're going to actually get started with this item. This was something I brought in and it surprised me. I'm not going to say shocked or stunned, but it legitimately surprised me. By the way, if you're new here, timestamps and links down below. If you click it, do I make a dime if we move 8,000 screwdrivers from this video? No. If somebody clicks this and buys a screwdriver, do I get a free hat from Mac? No, it's literally all there for your convenience. But back to this. It's Proto. I love Proto. Classic American brand, right? I had finally been able to place an order and remember that I wanted one of these and then it was actually in stock and the stars aligned. Years have passed and here it was, right? And I assumed, like I'm sure most of you looking at this, if you haven't seen the previous video on this driver, that this was going to be a classic Proto Duratec. And what I really plan to do here is kind of like demo this thing out. And what I mean by that, this isn't for me necessarily, this would be for work. And everything screwdriver related at work is almost entirely Klein. And the problem happens when good Kleins go from point A to point B to point C, and then a junk Klein goes from B to C, and then I'm at B and I don't have what I need, right? It slows everything down. It's stupid. And one of the ways from a managerial position you tackle this stuff, it seems really idiotic a lot of the times to people, but it's color coding, right? For example, you know, some of the impacts, if you're able to get, like if you love AirCat, you know, and you got to have AirCat everything, and you throw it down at, you know, assembly station 1 and 2, and disassembly 3 and 4, and repair 5 and 6, well, they all look the same, right? Maybe you get like red, maybe sometimes there's gray. You might even like red and gray. They might be your 2 favorite colors, or you just might not care. But if you had blue, if you had yellow, if you had, you know, black, you can kind of color code that. And then when there's constantly not an air ratchet 3/8 when you're in that area, no one ever, of course, accepts responsibility. You can come in from a management position. You can locate easily, you know, hey, this should have been green. Where's the green ratchet? It's over here. Who would have likely been the culprit? And it just kind of helps to eventually solve and mitigate stupid things from happening. Again, if people are responsible or professional, this wouldn't be a concern. But alas, it's been a lifetime struggle across many generations. So that's where this kind of came in. It was a deal. I kind of wanted to try it, wanted to have it here for comparison purposes. When I got it, though, it was not the Proto Duratec that I expected. Proto Duratec, if you go back several years, the big rage on those, I could come in here, I could put down a you know, applesauce jar, dump whatever chemicals we want to, throw this thing in here and just leave it on the back of the mat for 2 months and yank it out, and it's pretty much going to look exactly the same, right? And that's something they prided themselves on, Mac, or in this case, you know, like Stanley Black & Decker across the top, was chemical resistance with this driver. So purchasing this, I was like, yeah, this is going to be, you know, a classic Proto, but my real thoughts and intentions were like, let's kind of check this thing out, and then maybe, you know, like at disassembly or something, I'll throw out some Protos. This thing is not hard. This is soft. It completely caught me off guard. There was no specifics, no, you know, like, hey, we've updated, we've gone soft. That was universally preferred. Nothing, no explanation. I just ran with the assumption, like I'm pretty sure virtually anyone that had any background with the Protos or Duratex would have assumed this would be hard. This is soft. This whole black section is soft rubber. It's very, very comfortable. And if you look here, the other thing I wasn't expecting, this is finished in the USA. Anytime you see that, okay, like think of DeWalt. You know, yeah, it's made in America, but it's made in America because we're putting together stuff from overseas, right? So, right here, made in France. And so I don't quite know the deviations, if it's the metal, the screwdriver, if it is the handle. I don't quite know if they've moved production around from where I last knew it to be. But for whatever reason, I would assume with this tag and the fact that this blade does not say made in the USA, that this likely comes from France. Okay, you can think of Stanley Black & Decker. We go under the umbrella. Of course, you got Mac over here. You got Proto, and then this side, you got stuff like USAG and Facom, right? And I would assume that this is sourced from Facom. The Hex Bolster slightly different. Handle, I genuinely don't know. It could be US based. Once upon a time they were, but again, huge companies, you can move things around. So if anyone knows definitively, by all means feel free to leave a comment. At the end of the day, minus me not using this, again saving it for testing, this is a great driver. It's also really affordable. You can see the identification there, gray and red. Downside with Proto, this is it. This is the color scheme. It's all you're gonna get. And you're like, man, you know, why would you even think that that shaft would have made in USA on it? Well, way back, like I'm talking go back to the first 2 or 3 KC tool hauls. I was having an issue with Klein drivers at the time. It was number 2 Phillips. It was ticking me off. So they were out of the equation, right? I think other people have even said, like, yeah, there was a period of time, you know, they were cranking out was like junk. And I'm sure they've resolved it. But that put me on the hunt. That's what started this whole screwdriver thing. Was that one instance right there. And what kind of pulled me into KC Tool was VHA. Of course, we had the blue 3K handles. I wanted to try some other things in case that sucked because I didn't have experience with their full-size drivers, just precision. And one of my quick solutions was like, okay, you know, what do I like and what do I trust? And it's Proto and Wright. And so I thought, well, I'm going to bring in some Mac drivers. And so I don't think these ever got a proper video. They've like appeared in other ones, but like this goes way back. I mean, I'm talking like 2017, 2018. The Mac grip might have been relatively new at that point in time, but that's what this is. This is essentially hard, okay? Again, it's hard for me to convey that, but like, hopefully that conveys tappity-tap hard surface. That's a little more subdued. That's because that is soft. This handle section here is what I just assumed would be on the Proto. Again, no mention of either direction on the Proto. I didn't even know Proto had an option to have the soft handle. I just figured they're going to default to the industrial standard, which is take the abuse, you know, last and don't tick people off. But this Mac right here, again, goes back years and years. I actually really do like the handle, which again is what I knew I would have there. But smaller hex bolster, and you've got USA on the blade. Again, just like with German tools when we bring them in, if there's any doubt, and you're like, oh, I wonder if this was really made in Germany. If it's made in Germany, they're going to put it somewhere on there. It might not say made in Germany, it might just say Germany, but there's going to be mention of that. Same thing here. I don't care what the brand is. If it's made in the USA, it's going to be advertised that way, or it's going to be mentioned somewhere, like on the shaft. At the time of purchasing this, again, we're talking many years ago at this point, I don't know that this wasn't entirely done in the US. I believe it would be, or they'd have to have some disclaimer. Max, to their credit, fairly good with that, especially when you kind of see what some other companies do, but this is what I expected there. The other thing, the Hex Bolster, if I shimmy this tag a little bit, again, I was keeping this tag for comparison purposes. Look at the Hex Bolster. I still don't have it off. Again, US 100%. US shaft. I believe this one to be out of comb. And again, in my opinion, they're very similar. But if I have an option, I'm going to default probably in the direction of the Mac, since it was US based. So, at the time, if you go back, and this is one thing I say consistently with Mac videos when I make them, like, there's just not much out there on Mac. Snap-on, Matco, even Cornwell if you search it, which again, I hadn't seen a Cornwell truck with my own eyes in my own area until like 2 years ago, and then of course I can't get a hold of the person, but whatever, that's another story. So where we're going with that is into the situation. I'm talking to the Mac guy because one of the things I've always wanted to do was get a soft version of this. You can go and watch Mac's own videos, which come up relatively high. Generally, you're going to have a litany of like people like me and some of you that make videos on tools that will supersede that in the search listings, right? And when you go back and you find the video, they've had the soft grip for a long time. I have never been able to get it. Number one, it's really hard to find even on their website. And then number two, like when you could find it, it was never in stock. When I had the Mac guy show up a couple times, you know, I'm like, hey, you got any of the soft grip? He's like, no, man, those things are stupid hard to get. Now, the situation I've got with this driver, oh yeah, it's my first time making contact with it after getting it pulled out of that bag there. My situation now is the opposite. Right prior to recording this video, I typed in this part number, which, spoiler, is very similar to the soft grip. It doesn't come up. Mac sometimes does this, I know, because of various things I've looked at throughout time. Once it's like out of stock, they sort of bury it, right? It goes from prominence, you know, they're real proud, it's a hot seller, to just doesn't exist. Good luck finding it. If you mine enough, you might. If you know somehow you saved a direct link or bookmark that you might be able to pull it up, that's going to be out of stock. If you go to like their generic tab where it was screwdrivers and you go click 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 all the way through the individual stuff in stock, you get to this stuff. In my opinion, just keep it there and just say out of stock. And if you don't want to put a projected in stock date or something, just have that. Don't like take it away and leave the end user with a litany of questions. But I've always monitored it, you know, and again, this came soft unexpectedly, but this recent order, when I was coming in to get stuff, this was available. And you're like, that's the same driver, moron. No, this is finally the soft grip. This feels just like the Proto. It looks just like this driver, minus, again, the difference, hard and soft. So, be honest, did any of you know that Proto had a soft iteration? Because to me, I only knew of the Duratec, which would have been this center section. That's very strange. The other thing you will notice, if you paid attention, there's a very obvious delineation. I took no tags off of this. There's a tag on the Proto, there's a tag on this one. What does this one say? If I turn it this way, it's going to say made in France. If I turn to this side, it's going to say finished in the USA. If we look at the Hex Bolster, which I highlighted for you previously, this one's much taller, doesn't have the finish ring like this one does. In fact, if I hold that up, hopefully you can see what I mean here. I personally vastly prefer this. This is a situation, if you were ever really actually using that in a high torque situation with a wrench, you could probably spin the shaft. I don't know what they've got down there, maybe some wing kickouts to hold it. This, with my experience with drivers, with Hex Bolsters, is a more robust design. Again, could be wrong there, it's just speculation on my end, but this is basically this handle with a soft center and this shaft, which I again believe came from France. If we can... I hate taking these tags off because I know at some point in time someone's not going to have seen the early videos and then they're going to throw a fit and be like, no, that thing is definitely made in America. I've got one just like it. So what I'm going to try to do here, spin around, grab this paper, and we're going to take a gander at this. So the part number on the Mac USA, which is at the bottom, I'm kind of shaking it around for you with the hard center, it's going to have been PB204-2CO, and then the last bit of that after the space is USA. The part number on this one that's soft in my hand is PB, so we're still on track. 204, still on track. 2, still on track. Where this was a CO, this one is a DO, all right? And then there is a dash S after the fact. So the dash S is what I believe indicates soft grip, but I'm not so sure that Mac hasn't maybe done away with the USA shafts, which again is a shame. I'm sure they have some reason for it. It's possibly entirely just economical, right? They can get this cheaper than that, and therefore they make more money. I don't know. I couldn't tell you for sure. Again, there's not a lot of info on Mac. But I can tell you that I really do like these handles. They're quite impressive. Again, you can get a litany of colors by Mac standards, which is something I wish they'd kind of brush up as well, especially if they're moving production around so much. You can get orange, you can get green, you can get red, and that's kind of it on the Mac front. If you're someone that wants something neutral, you can come in and you can get gray from Proto. Since I bought the Proto and there was no mention of options or no mention of a soft grip, it wasn't touted as a selling point or a con or anything, I'm not so sure that this guy is gone, okay? At least the shaft portion, and they haven't entirely moved everything over here. It could also just be that I'm trying to search for this stuff and it's all out of stock that was US made. I don't know. Some of you may know better than me. If you do, please say something. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw this down as well. And you're like, whoa, what's that deal? Well, this came with the original hard handle Mac, right? So we're talking like 7-8 years ago, probably. It's USA made, I believe, again, 100%. It's actually got slightly better chrome the whole way. This one's kind of porous on the Hex Bolster. But that is their green color, and that is down for a reason. And that reason comes by way of the Macsimizer. That's right. You're thinking like, oh, geez, dude, you're jumping from screwdrivers to a roll cart or toolbox. This is going to be a great video. Get the popcorn, honey. No. This is, again, I can't control what names companies apply to things. I deal with this with precision torque. To me, that just... like precision torque wrenches, like I think of a torque wrench, a literal torque wrench for calibrated measurement. No, this is one of those things. Of course, if I say Macsimizer, most of you think like, yeah, roll carts, toolboxes, let's go. No, in this case, it's a screwdriver. Sorry to disappoint. Price point of $19.49 for this one. The part number PBM 2042NG. If you know anything about Mac's part numbers, you're going to know that G is the color. Boom. Again, this is a deviation from this form factor here. I'm hoping this tag tells us something because, again, there is so little information. And it tells me exactly what I wanted it to. Unfortunately, it's not great news. But, Mac Tools part number, which I just rattled off to you. This is a number 2 Phillips, 4 inches long. It's bolstered, which again is a win. And right there, made in Taiwan. Now, this one, to the credit of either the factory in Taiwan or someone at the plant, this came out of Columbus, as best I know, when it shipped to me, which is crazy because I'm a day away from Dallas. This driver here is Taiwanese, and that, of course, kind of explains the price difference. If you're curious, I think when we bought these two, they were, I'd say 23 to 29, probably in the middle of that range. When I bought this one, the soft grip guy, it was a couple days ago, like last weekend, and it was like 28 or 29. And now today, when I pulled up the part numbers, trying again to check just in case something would come back around, $31.99. That is on the very, very high end of the scale. Again, if you get a set, I'm sure you can probably mitigate that some. That's full retail off the website. I did not get this from my Mac guy. I attempted to. but he stuck with the thing that they're really hard to get and didn't seem to have much of a desire to order them. So the business went elsewhere. But as I've spun this thing around, I have seen these all over the place, primarily on TV shows, actually. I believe one of the techs on Graveyard Cars that's no longer there always had these sitting in the box, and I thought, well, I wonder why he picked those over these. And it very well could have been the price or a trade-in deal or something. This is kind of an interesting driver. Obviously, the one big knock, some of you will love this, this is green to me. This is like SK green. This is Stavilla green. Okay, this is case in point. I've got a 3K here. Look at that. Okay, it's not quite as dark or true. This is a little bit more sublime, but this is more of a green, traditional grass green, if you will. This, while, you know, like standalone in my hand, it does a nice job. It's very sublime, almost more in the limelight, in your face yellowy greens, right? This is closer to a highlighter green than this. When you have these down, it's a very stark contrast, right? So some of you are going to love that, sort of a more high-vis shading, if you will. Some of you are going to be like, wow, I had no idea Mac had a green that good, and be drawn to this. Now, before you are, there's something you've got to know about it, okay? Number one, it's quite a different take. If you look at it now, you're probably like, whoa, 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 hey, screwdriver channel guy, I know what's going on there. And why do I not have one here? There should be. Okay, it's way over here. Let me just grab a big Torx to showcase this. So, VitMax Pro right here. What do you notice? Okay, you can see that they're very, very distinct. There's people that absolutely love these, there's people that absolutely hate these, and there's people like, you know what, I really like these when it's oily or when I have to like really bear down and put some torque on a fastener. The Max Pros. What does Vit kind of default to? Well, their go-to design is a Tri-Lobe, kind of a bygone design, but again, very, very classic, very economical. It's the triangular, right? You got 1, 2, 3 sides of the driver. What Mac has done is they've got the big fat Tri-Lobe in the back, but then look how much that necks down. All right, that is a significant drop down, and what that gives me is a decent spin zone. In my opinion, they needed to neck it down a little sooner and get a little bit more real estate here, because again, this is kind of, with the bulbous end of the Tri-Lobe here is exasperated. Like, this is extreme hourglass type stuff, you know, 60s cartoon diva type of a deal. The curves are a little too intense. You can't get great spin out of this because the Tri-Lobe is so bulky on the back end. That could have been mitigated with a slightly longer center section that then could have given a balance point to allow you to turn that quickly. Case in point, we grab this. Keep in mind, I am right-handed. That's the gloved hand that a saw tried to take off. But this is much, much easier to spin, even though you might not think it would be. Also, the little bolsters, just various different design changes, all subtle, all something that might cause you to prefer these or to prefer this. Hand size, driving tactics, what you're actually working on at the time, all comes into play. Big drawback here with the Tri-Lobe end, if you store these vertically, coffee can, 5-gallon bucket, screwdriver stand, roll cart, what have you, you don't know what this is. If you had the full set and you mainly use a 1 and 2 Phillips, a couple sizes of slotted, and you really like this and you had like a T20 or T15 you use frequently, which one's which? Well, you better have a good memory because this ain't going to help you any. Whereas this line, you did get the tip identification. It's not going to spell it out for you, but if you just have a 1 and 2 Phillips up top, you got a 50% chance. With this, take the number of drivers, divide by that, you've got a lower chance there. So, Hex Bolster, I assumed these guys here would be 10mm coming out of France. They could be. The 3/8 fits way better. The 3/8 fits these like a glove coming from America. And right here, the 3/8 that I just bragged about fitting so well there, nowhere close. That may be an 8mm bolster, sadly. What I want to know from you, and where you can come in and kind of play a role here, if you actually have these, if you had them, if you still have them, maybe you bought these Maximizers when they were brand new, rocked them for a couple of years, and then you got a great deal on some Snap-on Instincts, or you moved into German tools, or you're like, you know what, these suck, I'm going to go buy some Kleins. You know, whatever it might be, if you've got first-hand experience with these, were these your favorite drivers? Were they your least favorite? Did you hate them? Did you like them in certain sizes? Again, with me only being limited to the number 2 Phillips here, I don't know what the others are like. Would a number 3 Phillips be even beefier? Would a number 3 Phillips and a number 1 Phillips have the same exact handle on it? Would the number 1 be sized down perfectly? And I would say, man, I wish I could put this shaft in that driver. No clue, because I don't have the set. I'm not going to buy the set. Money doesn't grow on trees. If the channel takes off, maybe, you know, we'll do things like that. But for now, I'm interested in comparing number 2 Phillips. This is slotted. It's here for just comparison of the color. But yeah, I gotta tell you, I do kind of like some elements of this. The color, the general overall aesthetics, the shape. But for me, it's a little too dead here. It's too bulbous. It didn't drop down and send quick enough. Also, no clue what that Hex Bolster is actually going to be. But to kind of give you an idea here, like Vit, the way they do it, you know, they graduate up. This is a T10, tiny, tiny little guy, right? It's proportional to the handle size. If I come back with the T40, this thing is dadgum near the dimensions of the T40, which is crazy. T25 has probably been used the most sitting over there, but yeah, this is made in Taiwan. Sadly, again, I didn't see that on the website. We see it here after the fact. Would that have stopped me from buying it? No. Why? Got to find the world's best screwdriver, at least by my standards. And the trade-off there, $19.49. Is that a better price? Yes, when compared to a $32 screwdriver, it certainly is. It's not a great price, though. In my opinion, and I don't know what these companies are doing when they come out of Taiwan, like, keep your premium thing, charge what you have to for it, you know, tout the selling points. But if you're going to come in and say, like, hey, we're going to lose sales of our drivers with these awesome $32 ones, some people aren't going to be able to justify it or even be held back from trying one. When you do an interjection from Taiwan or China or whatever you're doing that's less money, you need to keep that in mind. And the $20 mark, that's a lot of money for a screwdriver. Okay, you could take that $20 to various big box stores, Harbor Freight, garage sales, eBay even maybe, and you could pick up several solid drivers, right? And that is kind of a tipping point that I think people miss a lot of times when they do imports. Not to say the quality is not good. Taiwan can crank out some nice stuff, as can China in the right circumstances. Anyone can. It's just people aren't really going there to pursue, you know, the pinnacle of perfection, right? They're going there to maximize their profits, sadly. And that's usually reflected in the tools. But I think Mac would have been better off with that maybe $14.99 or $9.99 type of a deal. And then, you know, maybe a guy gets that and he's like, man, these are really good drivers. Keep breaking them though, you know, or I've lost 3 of them this week. I liked those so well. Their $32 ones must be awesome. You have a lot of that you kind of miss out on with this transient pricing. But yeah, that is the video. And again, where you can come in is experience with the Macsimizer, especially if you have the Macsimizer and the Mac grips. Maybe you got the Maximizers for junk, nasty, greasy, dirty stuff, beaters, and you have your Mac set or your Protos for like interior or clean or assembly work type of a thing. Maybe it's vice versa. Maybe you picked one set up and jumped on the other. If you've got first-hand experience with both of these driver styles, leave your comment. It's your time to shine. Again, I'm just talking head behind the camera here. I can't provide much in terms of real-world feedback on these aside from the bench impressions. Again, maybe this is great, but you get like 6 months out of it. Maybe you don't like these quite as well, but you get way more time. Maybe some of you, like, man, these were bulletproof, greatest drivers they've ever had under the Stanley umbrella. They cheaped them out, got that, you know, French end on there, and it sucks. Maybe it's vice versa. Maybe they're like, hey, man, you know, I'm all about American tools, but that end right there was okay. Whatever they're doing en français, man, that thing, that's a sweet screwdriver. Let the people know your thoughts. Again, first-hand feedback is the best. Could be simple as you're a Snap-on guy, your buddy's a Mac guy. they're both good, you know, or you prefer this handle but the snap-on tip. Whatever you've got that adds to the discussion, by all means, feel free to do so. With that said, that is all I've got for you. Again, timestamps and links down below. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment. Subscribe if you have not. If you do that, jump your charger across the creek and you actually know the difference in when Mac moved production around. YouTube just might notify you. We got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, we literally missed by like 3 seconds. As I was saying, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Most importantly, have yourself a fantastic weekend. I hope I can catch you back here for more from the shop. Just before I forget, because somebody will want to know, blooper material. This right here is in fact, brace yourselves, an 8mm. We eyeballed it, we guessed it right. Are we getting better with metric finally after all these years? Maybe we are. Also could have just been the next popular size down, but that's it. 8mm hex bolster there again across the board. Even the Proto in this new Mac, which I guess I should verify that before I just assume. It's going to be, I'm going to say 3/8, not 10. 3/8 a better fit. So there you go.